Welcome to this online event, Connecting Waterfronts, Connecting People. Observatorium and Waterfronts started 2 years ago working together on a new waterfront project in Lomonosov, St. Petersburg, which is funded by the program Inclusive Cities and Societies through design of the Creative Fund, the Netherlands. And because Rotterdam and St. Petersburg are sister cities, we wanted to connect the two cities through this project and this event. So we have several presentations for you today, and if you have any questions, you can share them on the chat, or you can ask them at the Q&A at the end of the event. At first, we will be listening to Альбина Мотор, who is founder of the Waterfront project, and will explain the Waterfront project aims to do around, what are the aims to do around St. Petersburg, and she will introduce the specific project in Lomonosov. So, Альбина, for you.
That I'm working mom, and sometimes maybe Evgeny will join to my presentation. So yeah, the Waterfront project, I just will introduce in general what is it, the Waterfront project. And the Waterfront project, international project supported by Nordic Council of Ministry, started in 2017 in St. Pete in partnership with the Danish Cultural Institute. We created the concept about the dialogue between city, human, and the water in the modern context of the city and urban areas developing. It was very specific for me. I moved to St. Pete from Moscow, and it was like great difference between tourism and immigration, because before I moved to St. Pete, it was like the image of the city, the full of channels, the river, the waterfronts, the people who are spending their leisure time on the embankments, but it was like image versus reality, and it doesn't work at this. So we, together with the Danish Cultural Institute and Андре Anisimov, he is now in the with us. Андре, please, if I will have to be out presentation, please support me, okay, to explain the Waterfront. And yeah, and Полина, можно пролистать. So, and you can see the hashtags which explain what about the Waterfront project, because it's about dialogue between different actors of the urban life, like professionals, the just normal citizens, designers, architects, and the officials and investors, business. So it was the aim to put on the table the hot topic, how the waterfront areas in the post-industrial society now can be more, can transform to the new public and common space in the city. How we can as just normal citizens influence this transformation. And please, Полина, and the Waterfront project about dialogue, yeah. Листай, Полина, пожалуйста. about exchange and sharing. I will explain later the all steps. About research, everything what we do, it's research based, but not non-academic. It's we used art. What is very specific for our project Waterfront. We are using art as the main tool to attract the attention of the media and the wide audience for the subject of Waterfront, and we are working very close with the artists. So that's how Observatorium joined to our project too. The next slide, please. It's about exchanging and sharing from the very different levels, from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top, like with the local communities, with the authorities, with the, it's also about network within the very different actors of the organizations and companies and the private people, private initiatives around the waterfront developing. Next slide. Yes, experience and prototypes, and it's also about exchanging the cultural exchanging with the Russia. It's a Nordic region of Russia and Nordic countries and Netherlands now. So Waterfront, it's not just not just about Nordic Russian collaboration partnership, it's also Netherlands. Thanks for the stimulating creative funds Netherlands. So yeah, Paulina, next slide. Yeah, I will explain a little bit. Андрей, можешь, пожалуйста, продолжить немножко, подхватить сейчас, я потом присоединюсь. I just asked Andrei to support me while I have to be with my daughter for a few minutes, guys. Sorry.
Well, thank you, Альбина. A bit unexpected, but I'm trying.
Yeah. It was occasionally. Thanks for you that you are here. You know this presentation, yeah.
Well, yeah, we had different presentations, but if I may quickly talk about the activities which we organized during the Waterfront, here you see one of the venues in St. Petersburg where we had some activities with our groups. The one before was at the river Okhta, and this one is on the Finnish Gulf, and where we during the project life cycle, we had 4 teams working on 4 different locations on the waterfront in St. Petersburg. And Paulina, if you could also list the presentation so that I can also see it, what's in it. As I said, we had a different approaches. We had project teams who worked on the locations in St. Petersburg, and they did a multifunctional. They had multifunctional tasks, including research among citizens, for example, on what they see as a relevant development of the areas, and as a result, we also created the project website, the Waterfront.tools, which is a collection of the database.
Andrei, I can thank you very much. I can continue. And the project Waterfront, it consists of different phases. Now we're on the phase 3. The first phase was the great exhibition. We started the artistic-based research exhibition. We invited the curator Dmitry Pelikin and 14 artists from the St. Helsinki and Helsinki and Copenhagen, and briefed them to make research about the dialogue between citizen, human, water, and the city. And the result of this research was a great exhibition, which with one of the now very popular project Sivkabil was open. in 2017, and then after we applied to the second phase grant for the second phase of the project, and it was, yeah, as Andrei already explained, we decided to go deeper to work with the local communities and to make the waterfront more inclusive with the different groups of people. So we made an open call and choose we chose 40 people and created multidisciplinary teams, 4 teams, and they took 4 locations in the St. P and tried to work with them as a potential places for the public space, common space on the waterfront. So you can go to the waterfront.tools and you can see which locations it was and what the result. And each phase of our project, we are making the final event. It's always a kind of art exhibition plus forum or conference to discuss the topics we faced and issues and some insight we faced during our work. So the next phase, it was last summer. We decided again to work with the professional artists and made an open call for the public art in the St. P. And the main goal was to remind people about the habits to use waterfront area as a place for leisure time, because it's forgotten somehow. People going outside of St. P to spend their time on the embankments on the waterfront, but they forget about that. In St. P we have a Finnish Gulf, we have about 100 rivers and channels, and this is question about infrastructure, and this is question about the attitude and approach of the city planners also to the waterfront, because they are also they somehow close to the non-comfortable and we have no infrastructure, but we are using the art as a tool again, because it's attract a big attention by the media, and it's a universal language to explain things. So yes, you can see the very different. So yeah, so you can see the numbers. It was 48 applications, and we choose six projects. And then in 2019, Vika Lurik sent me the link for the grant from the Netherlands, from the fund of the creative industries Netherlands, and said, you have very nice project, Waterfront, Альбина. Maybe you will create something with the Dutch partners. So thanks for Melanie, I found the observatorium, and we together applied for this grant to expand the waterfront project to the Dutch, Netherlands, and Russia partnership, not just Nordic experience. And yeah, and for now, just now, right now, result of this collaboration, result of this partnership is just in a work in progress. We are building the great big landscape object, but more information, more about our approach, about the project in Lomonosov will explain my our partners, Observatorium. Thanks, guys, and yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your presentation. Yeah, so we will now be more the project. We will listen to Rууд Reitelingsperger from Observatorium. He will guide you through the imaginary process with inhabitants and partners around the Sea of Orange project in Lomonosov.
Yes, everybody hears me?
Yes.
You all see the Альбина. That was a very nice presentation. And in the end, we all do it for the next generation. We don't do it for ourselves, in a way. So, for the next generation, we applied together at the Creative Fund under this title, Who Owns the River? Because that is an interesting aspect. As rivers change from industry to recreational, from hard borders to soft edges, rivers change. And the question is, who owns them? We saw some nice pictures about, oh, why is it not blah, blah, blah. Now I don't see the next picture anymore. That is a little bit crazy. Now I cannot go to the next picture anymore. Hold on. Now everything stops in my computer. Huh? Yeah. My computer is running out. Shit. People, I have a problem. My computer is not doing anything anymore. Even I have a problem. No, it's not working anymore. Yeah. Okay, here I am. We do it like this. Hopefully. Do you see this?
Yes, I see the presentation.
Yeah, but I cannot go to the next slide anymore. Hold on. I'll try it again. Do you see this? Yeah? Okay, hold on 1 second.
So I can, while guys, you are managing the presentation, I can also add that we have partners today, the Friends of Baltics. We have a Ranenbaum Maritime Festival. I'm also very glad that we have so strong partners with the project. They will also tell a little bit about themselves and how we're gonna collaborate with them in our project.
Okay. You listen me? I don't know. Альбина?
Евгений.
Yes.
Yes. I can start. I may start. Okay.
No, Евгений, no. Жень, нет, сейчас пока Рууд. Это я просто говорила, пока Рууд. I just introduced that you will talk a bit later. Okay. We are waiting the Rууд. Yes. I just like MC who are, you know, the take time of the pause, technical problems, and just take advantage to add more, to tell more about the project.
Anyway. Yes, for me, interesting. Listen.
Rууд, okay. Are you ready, Rууд? And I can explain also plans for this year while we are waiting route. We are working as a Waterfront project. We are working for the event program in St. P. And we are also working with the Waterfront toolkit. It will be magazine, the collection of the articles with the cases of about Waterfront development in Russia and Nordic countries, and our case with the observatorium. It will be presented in the end of September. It will be publishing, where we are trying to sum up all our experience during 4 years, and not just the other cases also. Rууд? Living? Полина, вы слышите меня? Are you hear me?
Да-да-да, мы тебя слышим, просто, видимо, не разбираются с презентацией.
Okay. So and also now around Waterfront in St. P, about I don't know, 200 people maybe. I mean the active people who are more or less involving to the subject. And we are also very proud that after Waterfront, after 2019, there appeared a lot of bottom-up initiatives about developing the river bank areas, not just in St. P, but also in the very different cities in Russia. And but two projects influenced by the participants and developing by the participants of our team working followers. They continue to work as a local communities. For us, it's the best result that we can expect from the very beginning, and we are very glad and proud of these results. Yeah. Cool, Rууд. Yeah.
Are we back again?
Yes, do you see us?
Do you see and hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry for this interruption. It's a long way to St. Petersburg and the Netherlands. Okay, so I talked about who owns the river. That was the additional starting point from for this open call at the Creative Fund. When you look at pictures, this is what St. Petersburg does with their waterfronts. It's really nice. And this guy, you see, he has a plan. We don't know what plan, but he has a plan to do something with the water. That's nice. So when we talked about waterfronts, we talk about how waterfronts turn from industry to recreational, how water is a barrier and wants to become a connection. And the role of the art is very easy. It's to stimulate curiosity, change the look, and show the potential of the waterfront. And especially because we are Observatorium and an artist collective, we talk about the imagination. Everything we do should trigger imagination. Who is Observatorium actually? We are an artist collective of 4 people. Lieven you see on the left, me on the right, and in the middle Andre and Geert. Andre you will meet later on. And what we do, one of our important mottos or theme is turning spaces into places. What does that mean? Spaces are all over the world, and space is all everywhere, but but places is something else. For example, this is one of our biggest projects. On the right, you see the extension of the port of Rotterdame. It is new land. It is reclaimed from the sea. It is built a couple of years ago, and the Port Authority commissioned an artwork as a celebration of creating this new land. And this was the location on the left, a dune. Yeah, and a dune is space, but not place. So we try to turn this into a place, into a destination, somewhere you can go to. And that is starting to look like this. We built a sculpture. We built a artificial dune out of concrete. Normally you go on top of dunes, but in this case you go inside the dune. And you go there, you go to the sculpture, and then you sit. And then you look around. And then you start wondering about the world around you. On the left, you see new nature with seals in the ocean. And on the right of this sculpture, on the backside, you see the big container terminals, the port of Rotterdam. And actually, creating this place, suddenly it becomes a destination where you can go to and where you can start wondering about the world around you. That is what we do. And how we call this? We call this something in between art, which is the language of imagination, and architecture, which is the language of functionality, of making spaces. And together we call that, I call that sometimes architecture. That is what we do. And so we came to Lomonosov in December 2019. And after this was the second visit. The first visit, we went to several places in St. Petersburg, and we had the chance to choose one exciting space. And that became the small city of Lomonosov. Here you see the map for the Dutch people. It's interesting where St. Petersburg is and where Lomonosov is. It's more or less an outskirt of St. Petersburg. And this is how it looks on the map. You see a lot of water, the Gulf of Finland, the water in St. Petersburg. We zoom in a little bit to Lomonosov. And interesting, on the left side, you see this dam and this island. And it's not for nothing that we are twin cities, because this is what we have in the Gulf. You see these things, we have them in Rotterdam too. Exactly the same. So that is interesting. So that's why we learn from each other and we have connections with each other. Oh, now it goes too fast. Okay. Here we are in Lomonosov. On the right star is a piece of beach, and the left star is there are two highlights in Lomonosov, in our opinion. That is the Menshikov Palace and Park, you see on the left, and our piece of reclaimed land from the sea. And that is it. This is an interesting story. There was an idea of creating a container terminal just on the port of Lomonosov. You see that on the right image. And they already started with dredging the ocean, reclaiming land from the sea, just as we do in Rotterdam, in order to create this container terminal. But the people started to protest. And after a period of protesting, people said the port didn't happen anymore, but this piece of land stayed. And the other interesting part is the Menshikov Palace. This is a palace that was built during the times of the Tsar. And this was a friend of the Tsar, and he thought, I need to build a big palace of my own so the Tsar can visit me and we can be friends and we can share each other's wealth, etc., etc. That's how these palaces are being built in those days. Here you see the connection. So we have actually, the idea is to create two parks with two different stories and two different uses, but one dream. Okay, that is the idea of this whole project. And it starts with storytelling, about walking around and looking at the differences or what is the same. On the left, you see the palace. On the right, you see our beach. And they have great pavilions. On the left one is a beautiful pavilion, of course. And on the right, yeah, also a beautiful pavilion. But that's in the harbor of Lomonosov. And what do people do? As we found out in Russia, Russian people are sort of crazy. Sorry that I have to say it. But they make crazy things. On the bottom, you see in the palace, and for Russian, it's probably well known, it is the first roller coaster in the world. You see the hills and the round, and with slides they went over it, and they call it the Russian slide. It's a crazy object once built there. It's not there anymore, but it was the first roller coaster in the world. And on the top you see the highest building. I don't know, is it the highest building in Russia? Not quite sure, but it's anyway the highest building in St. Petersburg, the Lakta Tower. And you can see that from our beach, the place where we're gonna work. Crazy things. And what else do you see in Lomonosov? Oh, as you walk around, there is a book written about the people on Lomonosov, and they call it the crazy people of Lomonosov. Now, and that's not for nothing, because when we walked around, we saw imaginary and mysterious things. We saw in our hotel where we were, there was a drawing on the ceiling about the arts depicted. It's about architecture, and it celebrates the arts in general. And on the beach, we saw also drawings. And here we walked in the park and we saw all these mysterious objects, and it made us really think about, yeah, it really triggers the imagination of us. And here on the right, you see a Bible laying in the bus station, and you wonder, why is that? Why is that Bible there? Anyway, after these walks and these investigations, we said, okay, we're gonna think about the beach, the reclaimed land, and what are we going to do with it? So we started discussing it with all the local people. On the right, you see the lady in the red shirt. That's the mayor of Lomonosov. And we had lots of young and elderly people coming to join us. And in a three-day workshop, we started thinking about ideas for this site. And we made, of course, a map of ideas, but the most important thing is we were standing on the beach and we were thinking about what can we do. So the first thing we did is writing a story. That's always important for us in creating a work of art. You have to find some common ground for an object to build or for an artwork to realize something. This fairy tale is on the website, you can read it. But it tells the story about the dreams and wishes of the people of Lomonosov as we understand it. And from this website, from this story we wrote, we started creating what we're doing now. And that is what we call the Sea of Orange. And why do we call that? Next week, actually, we will put up a sign on the main street of Lomonosov. You turn right and we welcome you, everybody, to the Sea of Orange. And what is it, Sea of Orange? We want to create an impulse for creating your own park by the sea. As the Menshikov Park was a park for the rich and the famous, and not for, let's say, for the common people, we decided now that we want to create a park for the local people. And we want it to become a celebration for what is already there. So we want to talk about the history of the site, the mystery, the landscape, and it's for young and old people. And in the end, we just wanted to create crazy things that trigger the imagination and that might be a kind of development for the future, because there are a lot of ideas about the future. And on this, to make a first statement, we create what we now call the Dune of Orange. It is a first free-for-all land art project, so it's free to go there. And it's a celebration of the new future of the Amber Beach, as they call it. Yeah. And how does this come about? You make a sketch, you make drawings, and then you make some kind of nice drawings. And what does it do? What is the idea behind this? The sand on the Sea of on the Amber Beach is orange. It's an orange color. And by using what is already there and what people already did, is like reclaiming sand and dumping sand in the ocean to make new land. We wanted to use that to create an object again. So add more sand to it, add and use the sand that's already there to create something new out of it. And it's a kind of spiral form it's a dune, it's also a dike, it's a dam, but what it does, you go from below, you slowly go up, and at this point, somewhere on 4 meters high, you have this place where you can stand still. And you start wondering about where you are, what the history of the landscape is, but especially where do we want to go to? Because this is a start from the people themselves. They are actually working right now on it. And this should be the first sign of transformation. And that is sort of the work of Observatorium. We don't do a finished job, it's just a first start. And we wrote down 15 ideas about the future of this site. And these ideas, they're crazy, but they're also realistic. And it's about a garden, create gardens that clean the earth, because it's important on this site, on this new piece of land, that you create also new nature. The world is changing, climate is changing. We are starting to have a lack of biodiversity and the world is polluted. So how can you clean up the earth, as to say? But there are also ideas about new buildings and parks and a yacht club. And all these dream rocks, you can read them on the website and later on the location. They are open for discussion and they're open for next steps. And we start with an event that's not an event, as we say it. It's a festival, but it's about looking at the world around you in peace and quiet. That's what this place is for. And that's also what the people wanted. Last week we started with cleaning up, and that's what made me very proud. This is what's happening on this place. What is there, and we cannot do that anymore. So before you create a new house, before you enter a new house, you start cleaning up. And before you start working on a new project, you have to clean up. This really looks good. And this is what's happening actually this week. The machine comes, the sand comes, and the drawing comes to life. That's really amazing, especially in these times that that we cannot visit each other and that we cannot talk face to face to each other, that it's really happening. And this is how they depict us. Because we cannot be there, they put up 2 crazy things about us, and we are standing somewhere in the forest over there, Lieven and I. In the end, I want to say something about what we have learned during this collaboration, because it's about Holland and Russia and different culture and different languages. And the idea was to create a kind of cultural collaboration. And in the end, a cultural collaboration is not between countries or cities like Rotterdam, St. Petersburg, or organizations like Observatorium or Waterfront. But in the end, it's always about people. And I must say that the interaction between us and the people we met, it's really nice. And I'm so happy that you in Russia adopted this idea and that you are realizing it now. And that's sort of what it's all about. And another thing is, we live in different cultural systems, but we notice that people all over the world, they are concerned about climate change and pollution, and that we all wonder and question ourselves, what can we do ourselves? And I hope that every small impulse that we do, and that in the next months will happen at the Sea of Orange, that they in the end will have a big impact. And the start, and that's interesting about this project also, because we are working now for almost 3 years together. But a good conversation is the start of any transformation. So we talked a lot and we talked a lot. And even if we don't understand each other very well, this good conversation is very important. And I like to thank you all for that. I hope we can visit very shortly again in September. This morning I got my vaccine, my first. So I hope to be able to visit you and our project in September. Thank you.
Thank you, Rud, for your
You're welcome.
presentation. Thank you. Nice. Yes. So you heard about Lomonosov and the project, and now we will talk with Evgeny Zakharov. He is the local partner. Ruud, maybe you can stop sharing your presentation.
Yes.
Evgeny, hello.
Hello,
He is the
hello.
local founder of the Maritime Festival in
Yes.
Lomonosov. He is also the local he's the local drive behind the development of the harbor, and he is the local resident. And please tell me who you are and share your thoughts.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm a little sick. Sorry. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Evgeny Zakharov. I have lived in our town Lomonosov for more than 30 years. I'm a journalist and director for documentary films. For the past 11 years, I have been actively organizing various maritime events on the coastline of the Finnish Gulf in Lomonosov. There is a Oranjebao Maritime Festival, yes, various regatta and shipmaking competition. A little bit about our town. Our town has a rich history. It's 311 years old. Until 1949, it was called Oranjebao. Lomonosov has always been connected to the sea. It was based on the military harbor. On the shore, construction bases and full storage facilities for the Baltic Navy were developed. But time have passed, and the primordial significance of these structures has dissipated. Now they are represented with an array of abandoned building and ungrounded areas still owned by the Ministry of Defense. Unfortunately, we cannot be proud of the modern state of our coastline. There are no convenient promenades and landscape recreation areas. There are many territorial and bureaucratic problems associated with the development of these lands. But we don't lose hope and understanding that is only the beginning of the path to the demilitarization of the beautiful territory. All our public efforts are aimed at this. We dream, and we do everything to ensure that in the near future, beautiful embankments, sport grounds, parking lots for yachts, squares, low-rise recreational facilities, cafes, restaurants appear here, not covering the sea view, but emphasizing its beauty. Views of €1 million open from our coasts. For instance, the old city island of Kronstadt, which is now experiencing an explosive growth of tourist infrastructure. He waited for his hour. We see the traffic of cargo and tourist ship going to the St. Petersburg, northern capital of Russia. The miracle of modern architecture, a tower of Gazprom, sparkles on the horizon. These are inspiring views. And what views of the horizon of during sunset. The appearance of the Waterfront teams and the observatorium from Rotterdame for us like a breath of fresh air and a ray of hope for change to the better future, where an inspiring creativity and professional approach to solving problems strengthen our spirit and give confidence that the revival of Rainbow Coast is beginning. Let the Orange Dune become not only a center of attraction for tourists, artists, and romantics, but also is a symbol of change to the better times. Yes, I'm finished.
Thank you, Evgeny. Yeah, and so yeah, the next Saturday it will open, the June. You
Yeah.
already went there to have a
Yes,
look.
it's yes. Every day we go to the beach and look how grows this big art object. It's very interesting and
People
very
talk
good
already
for
about
spirit.
it in the village.
What?
People talk already about it in the village.
Yes, people talk, and I think in Saturday, 22 May, it will be many people's and they going to the open this art object, and we will be it will be take garbage. Understand?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's English in Russian. It's
Yeah, and a lot of reposts. You can join to our Instagram account waterfront.tools, and we are making the live stories from the production, from the location, so you can all of you can join and see what happens right now there, and a lot of reposts we already have in St. P and from the different parts of Russia. So it will be one of the exceptional case, I would say, for the Russia, for the St. P, because we have a lack of the public art, and it's like quite new approach, which is Waterfront is using. So yeah.
Thank you. Yes. No.
Спасибо, Женя.
I was. Thank you, Evgeny, also, and Albina.
Yes. After this conference, I go to a beach and will be helped by my friends doing this orange dune.
I will show you one more thing before we go to the next stage, because Rууд already told about it, but we made a website on the Waterfront tools, and where you can see the whole story, how we came there, but also all the stories and ideas, the fairy tale, where you can see it, and especially also the dream rocks, where you can see every how you say it, every story we made from all the workshop and all the events we did in the time. So if you want to, after the presentation, want to have a look, go to Waterfront tools, and you can see it. So thanks. Yes. Now for our project in Lomonosov, we found surprisingly kind of a sister project also in Rotterdam, and that's the island of Brienenoord. Was for us an inspiration because of how the island developed in the last few years with nature, art, and culture. And Mori's Špechт is one of the cultural developers of the island, with the Buitenplaats Brienenoord as heart of this cultural program. And he will give a glimpse of this remarkable island in the middle of Rotterdam. Mori's Špechт, for you. Are you here?
Yes, I'm here, and I'll have to share this screen. So if all goes well, you now see my presentation. Now the big question is, yes. So welcome all, and thank you, Lieve, for inviting me, for telling us short story about the island from Brienenoord, but also Buitenplaats Brienenoord. So on the left you see a map of Rotterdam, and the island is not so much on the outskirts of St. Petersburg as Lomonosov is, but for most people in Rotterdam, the island is quite out of its way. From the center, it's half an hour by bike or by car, and for people in Rotterdam, that's far. So the island has developed 100 years ago through the salmon fishing. It was 2 small dunes of sand which were developed into an island. And it has been a sort of hidden gem for a lot of people in Rotterdam. So if you ask people in Rotterdam, do you know about the island? Maybe 90% will tell you, yes, we know about it. If you then ask them, have you ever been there? Probably 95% will tell you, no, I've never been there. So it has always been this sort of hidden gem, hidden away from people. If you can cross a big bridge over the river Maas, and then you see on your right hand, you see the trees, but you don't realize that there is actually an island. In the last couple of years, we came there in 2014 because we organized a cultural camp for adults. But in the last couple of years, a lot of attention has been drawn to the island due to larger developments. So we'll take you now on a short journey of how we landed on the island, what we've tried to do, but also how the island itself is transforming into an interesting nature reserve, but also something which makes people anxious about the future. So it has this double edgedness to it. So when we came there in 2014, this building was standing there. It's a building from the 1930s, which has been a summer camp house for over 70 years. And when we came there, we did a summer camp for a week, and the woman who owned or was looking after the building after 2 days said, well, you know what the kind of energy and the network that you're bringing to this building is what it needs. Do you want to have it? So we organized it with the 6 of us, and we looked at each other and said, yes. So we slept about it for 24 hours because we couldn't really believe that we were given this building on an island with no neighbors to do whatever we wanted. So we slept for 24 hours, said yes, and we got the keys to the building. It was a 500 square meter building, 1 story high. So we thought we were very lucky to have this building, which was owned by the city of Rotterdam, but they forgot about it. So we got in contact with them and said, well, we want to look after this building, but want to have a contract. So can we draw something up? And somebody from the municipality came to the building there, and he looked at us and said, well, the first thing I want to make clear is we don't want to have anything to do with this building. So if you can take it off our hands, please do. But there's always a but. If you take it over from us, we first have to look at the state of the building. So whether the building was safe. So they brought in some specialists, and they said, well, yes, it will stand for another 100 years, but there is rust in the building, so we can't guarantee that it's going to be there. So no, it's unsafe. So we ended up having a building which we had to demolish. But just demolishing and building something new was too easy. So we got into contact with Superuse Architects, which is an architecture firm in Rotterdam specialized in reusing material, or as we now call it, the circular economy. So what we actually did with them is we sort of went through the building and we scanned the building and harvested the building. So we looked at all the materials in the building which we could use to create a new building. So what you see here on the picture is a more refined version of a building play set that we developed to actually work with partners in the city to see, well, what kind of space do we create on this island which fits with potential future programs. So how can we create space which fits with potential programs. So here are pictures of what we actually did. So they came up with, well, I just learned that people from Lomonosov are crazy. Well, people from Rotterdam are crazy too. So they came up with crazy constructions looking like gulfs, but also just random elements which were fit together to create a sort of idea of what a space could look like. This all went into the head of our architect. I always tell him that he then used LSD and he came up with a so he came up with a building which we've now built, and we did it together with over 50 volunteers with the help of professionals once it became too difficult or we needed equipment which we couldn't rent or use ourselves. So what we created, why can't I go further? So this is what the building now looks like. It's a 350 square meter big building, which is for 65% consists of the old building where you saw the picture from first. 25% of it is reclaimed from other building projects. So for instance, the big windows you see on the left are two big windows we got from a snack vendor. We were called by the contractor who was working there and said, well, if you come by tomorrow with 8 or 9 strong men and women, you can take the glass with you. So we just harvested from around Rotterdam all kinds of building material too. Part of it is transparent. So sometimes we just say it's a big glass house. The idea behind it is that we can take in as much warmth and heat as we can, and then the other side, which is very thick insulated, so we can keep it inside the building. So this is what it looks like from the inside. It has a lot of space. It's 8 meters high now, so much higher than it is than it used to be, with a lot of light in it. And as you can see, all the wood and all the steel you see here is from the old building, but also on the right hand, the glass frames are all from the old building, and the floor on which the dancers are dancing is also old. So now that we have created this building on an island, the thing is, well, what to do with a building? Because I never was, I'm not an architect. I have a background in philosophy and public science. But for the last 3 years, I've been building a building, not for the building's sake, but to actually create programs there. So it's called Buitenplaats Brienenoord, and it's a make, think, work, and play space for all ages about the future. The reason why it's about the future is always open and open for discussion. And the nice thing about this island is it's the kind of retreat where you are away from the city, but you don't turn your back on the city. So you're not engulfed in the day-to-day activities. You can have this step back, but you still hear, feel, smell the city around you. So that's why it works for taking this step back and to think about this future. But this tagline, make, think, work, and play space for all ages about the future, doesn't tell you anything that we do. So to give you some glimpse of what we do, we have all kinds of cultural programs. So this is from a theater play, which is going to be played in August. It should have been next week, but due to Corona, they can't perform yet. But so we're part of the opera dagen, so they're going to perform an opera. We have a artist in residence program where we actually do research on our own relationship to water. So the building is on an island, but if you are in the building, you forget that you are actually close to the water. So we invite artists to work at our place for 3 months to research our own relationship to water as a building, as people, but also as the city of Rotterdam, because the water is rising. So the question is, how do we deal with that? But not as a functional thing, but as an art thing. So that's a bit in line with what Rууд also said, it's architecture. We do a lot of education, so we do a summer camp for a day for children, but we also have a long-standing relationship with a couple of school classes who visit us from time to time. And the latest thing is, so we're on this island, and the island is transforming. Like I said, it's been around for 100 years, and for the last 90 years, not much happened. But the new insight is, the water is coming, and how are we going to change our relationship to water? There's actually a difference between ebb and flood of 1.5 meters in the Maas. So we have an open relationship to the sea, which is the only river that has that in the Netherlands. And one of the things that the city of Rotterdam is doing is creating 6 tidal parks where you can actually feel and see what happens if you don't so much fight the coming water, but if you give it a place inside of the land. So they've opened up the island. It used to have a hard edge, and now it has a lot of soft edges to it where it actually lets the water come in. So the picture on the left top is part of a tidal park which they created 10 to 15 years ago. And it was sort of part of the inspiration of what they're doing now. And all the other images are of the current work which is going on the island. So now some people thought they were turning it actually into one big beach because most of it looks like sand. But as you can see on the picture on the right top end, you already see this green glow where nature is slowly taking over. And that's the idea. What they try to do is they open up the island and then let nature take over. And it works quite fast. So the picture on the top right, they've only opened up this piece of the island 3 to 4 months ago. And already it's completely green. On the right bottom, they've created this, I think 4 or 5 months ago, and colonies of seabirds are already living on it. So you actually see how quick nature takes over. And a lot of people were anxious when they started on the work. A lot of demolishing of nature took place. And they thought, oh, you've destroyed our island. It was so beautiful. It was so wild. It was this hidden gem. And now that you've ruined it. Nature is more resilient than that. So it quickly takes over. The question will be, what will it develop into? And that's one of the final thing I want to end with. There is this anxiousness. Like I said, it was this hidden gem. It was a sort of forgotten island. It was a wild island. They try to let nature do its work, and the only real things they did there was we have 5 big cows who look after the island. Some people now worry that it becomes a nicely looked after park. So the image you see on the left is a visual which is one of many visuals they've created for the new island. And this doesn't look like wild nature. This looks like a park. So some people are very worried that what made the island so special is lost now. I'm not that worried about that, but I understand why people feel that. The other big worry that's slowly coming up now is the south bank of Rotterdam is, well, I won't say quickly, but is developing. And one of the big developments is the new stadium and all the buildings and all the houses which come with it. And some people worry that the island is part of a larger transformation and a gentrification of this whole area of Rotterdam. Again, I'm not that worried about that, but it is these bigger movements where you see the small and artistic things that we're doing, nature, and the bigger elements which somehow have to fit together. The nice thing about it is we're on this island, and for the last 100 years, everybody who had a dream in Rotterdam and which looked for land always said, oh, I know this island, let's build it there. So they thought about building this football stadium on the island. They thought of building a zoo on the island. They thought of making it a drive-in cinema, a sex island. Whatever dream it was, they always thought, well, let's bring it to the island. And nothing ever happened. So in a way, I'm not that worried that actually this hidden gem will change its identity. That's it.
Thank you, Maurice, for this inspirational presentation. I think it's nice to see what is happening in Rotterdam with culture, but also with nature. Nature inside the city, really close by.
Yeah.
So thank you, and yeah, maybe later on people have questions, or they can share them later.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks. So we go soon back to the next one. Next, we after seeing Rotterdam, we're going back to the project Sea of Orange, and now also about the Creative Fund is our main partner in this project. And they funded our project around the program Inclusive Cities and Societies Through Design. And Yassmin Kourzun is project leader of this program. And she will tell you more about the fund and why our project fitted well in this program. Yassmin, are you there?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Nice to be here. Thank you for the invitation. It's always very nice to hear about the projects and the results of the projects that we are funding. So my name is Yassmin. I'm living in the beautiful city of Rotterdam, close to Waterfront, and I'm working for the Creative Industries Fund in the Netherlands for 3 years now. And yeah, we financially supported the project. And I'm invited to tell something about our fund. So we are the cultural fund in the Netherlands for architecture, design, and digital culture. We receive our funding from the Ministry of Education and Culture, and for the international program also from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So in 2017, we started with this special program. We received funding from the 2 ministries in the Netherlands to develop a program for 4 years to support collaborations within the design field in Russia, but also in Turkey, Egypt, and Morocco. And the overall aim of the ministries was to improve trust and understanding between the Netherlands and countries along the line of the European Union, also through culture, and therefore we got, we became one of their partners. So it's for me, it was a very interesting program because those countries are all very different. So the project teams in Egypt had to take into account the Ramadan or the hot summer. While in Russia, it was much better to organize an event in the summer because of the cold winters. But something that the countries have in common is that there is rapid urbanization, and it causes a lot of questions. So therefore we set up a program, and it's called Inclusive Cities and Societies Through Design. So we wanted to support the exchange of knowledge and experiences on this topic, and also support designers that are questioning and proposing solutions for the consequences of rapid urbanization. We initiated 2 open calls and we selected 26 projects in those 4 countries, of which 6 projects in Russia. And those projects are all very different and also widely spread across Russia. So we also, we supported this program. Another project is focusing on the transformation and the current role of libraries in Russia. They developed a prototype. It's called New Urban Media Center in Yekaterinburg. And we also supported a festival in Murmansk where artists, they created new works to collect the hidden stories and the lost identity of the city in the far north for young generations. All the teams, they got like, they could apply for a starting phase to develop the program, a second phase for the realization of the project, and a third phase to strengthen the communication of the project. And in this way, with all the different phases, the teams, they really had to reflect every time on their project, which was really good. And we also gave them feedback every time. So why this project was selected? Well, one of the most important criteria for us was the degree of an eco-collaboration. And that was in this project, it was very strong. It was clear that Альбина Мотор was a driving force also behind the project. And the project is very strong locally embedded. Well, on the opposite, the advisory committee also had some questions in the beginning, like, okay, the waterfront is not easily reachable for people living in the center or living in St. Petersburg. So how are you gonna bring those people also from the city center to this place? And therefore we also asked you to come up with a strong communication plan. And then another important criteria was the contribution of the project to the overall theme of our program, Inclusive Cities and Societies. What I think about it is that it's actually a very universal question, like how do you create a public space that belongs to everyone? So for me, it's very interesting project. And what I want to say is that this is the last year of our project, so of our program. So all the projects are now finalizing, but we still have a program that is open for projects and collaborations in Russia. So if there are any makers, designers here that want to set up a new project, then you can let me know or have a look on our website. So there's still funding available. And if you also want to know more about the other projects in Russia, we developed a publication, very beautiful. And there you find like a summary of other projects, but also interviews and photos. So yeah, I think you can let the CEO of Orange team know that you want to receive it, and then we are happy to send you one. So that's actually everything that I have to tell.
Thank you, Yasmin.
Maybe there are some questions.
No, yeah, thanks. I think thanks also for your support. Are these projects continued in the future? Somebody asks.
Well, we supported all the projects now for 2 years. And actually it is time now for them to continue themselves. It's a little bit strange, but the Dutch name of our fund is Stimuleringsfonds Creatieve Industrie, and stimulating means stimulating, So really, we are really a fund that we want to stimulate the beginning of new projects, and yeah, we help them to go further in the different phases. We give them feedback every time. And of course, we hope that the projects will continue. Yes. But what I see from now on, I see that all the projects are very strong, and I'm really sure that they will continue.
Yes, thank you, Yasmin, for your contribution. I think the Creative Fund is it supported like a broad network of people already for this project in Lomonosov, in St. Petersburg and Rotterdam. And yeah, we were very happy to have this experience also with you and together. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So yes, thank you, and we will go to the next presentation. An important part of the Sea of Orange project is the development of the waterfront through art and nature. So that's why we also had as a partner invited Olga Sенova from the Friends of the Baltic to tell us about their ecologic program around the Finnish Gulf, which will also be part of the project in Lomonosov. Olga, hello.
Hello, thank you very much. I will share the screen. Wait a second. Yes. So I'm a new partner in this project, and I'm very happy to join. But from other side, I'm a very big part of my life is connected to Lomonosov city, 25 years. I have been staying and working in Lomonosov city, and our organization, Friends of the Baltic, was established exactly in Lomonosov town. First, it was an organization with teachers and youngsters, and more than 24 years we work for public involvement to local development. And River Watch is our traditional field of activity, which we work from the very beginning, water investigation, Gulf investigation, and we not only investigate, we promote local sustainable solutions, how to avoid pollutions, how to save clean rivers, and we try to promote ecosystem approach to coastal and river basin management as much as possible. And we belong to International Coalition Clean Baltic, which unites more than 20 non-government organizations around the Baltic Sea. Here I'd like to share with you more or less old picture, but it is very give us very visible situation on our coasts. Here you can see some symbols. The red ones is a port industrial complex, ports, or even some modification of port infrastructure. Green zones you see also on the south shore of the Gulf of Finland nuclear power plant, and you see the rose areas is nature reserve of international importance, wetlands of protected by Ramsar Convention, and on the south shore of the Gulf of Finland you see Lomonosov with the complex of port industrial facilities. On one hand, on the other hand, it formally belonged to nature zones, but in fact, we see that much more attention, much more resources are spent for industrial development. Now we see not 7 as we see now, but more than 15 ports on the Gulf of Finland shores. And we have very few examples of establishing new recreation or new nature protected areas. And we see the challenges on the Gulf of Finland coast, the general disbalance of port industrial projects and nature protection. We see the lack of recreation zones. We have 1 centimeter of beaches for 1 resident of St. Petersburg and Leningrad Oblast. And more or less low public involvement to development plans and practices. Sorry, it's something strange. Here. And the question is, how can we participate? Formally, we have some options to participate when the new strategy of social ecological development is come and special plan, and we can participate in the public discussions on these 2 documents, and we can initiate establishing new green zones or public spaces. This is not too easy because it needs a detailed description and argumentation why this or that green zones should be established. And we have no guarantee that our comments, our proposals will be taken in consideration. It's really very difficult to promote these solutions. But more easy is public activities which may be independent. People can watch environmental state of their surroundings, the rivers, the parks. We all know international programs like Nature Watch, Coast Watch, River Watch, but people can simply check the water quality in the spring or river with very simple tests, express tests. They can appeal to authorities on hotspots and they can suggest solutions. On the municipal level, it's more or less practically may be implemented. And of course, each of us can personally contribute to improve our local environment and became a part of solution, as we see now on the Sea of Orange. I'm so happy of the success even on this stage, which I see on the video, which Albina showed us, because it was a dream of Lomonosov citizens for many years. Here you can see the picture where we met on the Lomonosov coast in 2008, and people discuss how they would like to see our Lomonosov coast. There were plans to establish nature reserve, nature reserve, and of course, people for many tens of years dream about the recreational zone on the coast. These dreams partly happened in 2013. The nature reserve was established on the western part of Lomonosov, Kronstadtskaya Kolonia. This is a wetland, 2 kilometers of coastline. And now we see that dream about coastal recreation zone have a chance to become a true. Sorry. Here you can see the fragment of general or special plan, where red zones is the Port Industrial Complex Bronka. The green zone is partly nature reserve. On the special plan is recreational category. And yellow one is old port zone, the zone of complex use. And the orange is the Amber Beach, which we are working now, and which Friends of the Baltic are happy to join. And we try to attract attention to this area several times. We have made some eco trips, and people came to this coast, and we told them about nature, about the Baltic Sea. And you see in the Evgeny Zakharov is here because he spoke a lot about opportunities for this development. And in the middle, you see the action climate picnic, because we also told people about climate change and climate change consequences for coastal zones, and how we can adapt coastal zones without artificial or concrete details, but more nature friendly. This is just example how youngsters can become a voice of changes. In 2014, it was a year of the Gulf of Finland, and we worked with youngsters from 3 countries, Estonia, Finland, and Russia. It was an environmental camp where youngsters come together and elaborated a youth declaration addressed to politicians, business people, and ordinary citizens. And then they present this youth declaration both to Gulf of Finland Final International Forum and to European Union Week for Local Democracy. As we are working with youngsters a lot for many, many years, we see that they are very open to new ideas. They understand about climate change much better than their parents or even authorities in their places, and they would like to follow the more advanced ways of development of behavior, both on personal level and on professional level. That's why I see the big potential of youngsters in the local changes. And I'd like also to share with you our experience, how we work with rivers, because this is a good illustration how people can be involved to citizen science on one hand, and other hand to the solution. Here you can see the public map of River Watch, where we have a layer of local groups. We have 55 local youth groups who investigate the rivers of Gulf of Finland coast, the layers of investigation results, nutrient, nitrogen and phosphorus, other parameters, and microplastic. Also, we have a layer of potential sources of pollution and layer of good practices. This manual, which we elaborate specifically for public investigation, help people not only understand the vulnerability of the environment and also get independent information of its quality and find the reasons why or where this pollution comes from and how can avoid this pollution. And as I also said, the very important link between public investigation, between citizen science and promotion of solution, how to reduce these pollutions. And this is also an example how we can contribute to reduction of nutrient pollution in the coastal areas with eco-friendly toilets, with composting, with recommendation to farmers. We have organized some study trips for farmers. They learn the best methodology. And this is all this pollution are very simply applicable to our area. Moreover, it became more actual because of climate change and flooding risks in our area, maybe in Rotterdame. Also, you see, of course, you see consequences of climate change, which also became risk of land pollution from land sources much higher. So education about environmental education, about your personal opportunity to organize your life eco-friendly with waste reduction, recycling, energy saving, organizing your travel. This is all part of forming eco-friendly lifestyle, both in your personal life and around. This is example on how we work with young people, with elder people on the low left corner, and even we organize some kind of green trips, municipal green trips, where show local people how they can organize their green yards, transport solutions in the area, how rivers, how our life affects to rivers, and so on. So, if we come back to our Amber Beach in Lomonosov town, our dream, our today project, some concern about the future solution. What should be done? What may be done? For my mind, it's very important to get formal inclusion of this area to the municipal territory. We need for that definition and approval of its boundaries. It's a very long process. This process started in the end of 2019, but it have not finished yet, but I very hope that it will happen, and then we can promote inclusion of this territory to St. Petersburg Special Plan as a P3 zone, recreation zone. Of course, raising public awareness of the values of the sea and coastal nature, about water quality, about climate change, through lectures, public talks, trips, citizen science. This is a part of the project, of today's project. And for the long-term proposals, I think it could be very interesting and very sustainable to develop recreation facilities in this area with eco-friendly, climate-friendly infrastructure, toilets, lighting, coast protection facilities, eco-food, waste, minimizing waste from all facilities on this area, and attract eco-friendly business, and of course make accessible environment for people with disabilities. This look, everything is possible. The only thing start and work. So, and we are very happy to be part of this project and to be part of the solution on our coast of the Gulf of Finland. Thank you very much.
Olga, thank you very much. I just wanted to add something, because it's very important that Olga touched the issue about the status of the land, because it's by the documents, it's a storage of the sand. It's informal. It's in the documents. It's a water. It's a gulf. It's even not a land. It's not. How to say in the cadastre. But we are preparing the project. We found finally who is responsible, in charge, which organization in charge of the land, not land, storage sand. It's authorities, it's organization who is responsible for the Neva and Ladoga River pool.
Basic department, yes, basic department, yes, of course.
Yeah. And we are very proud and happy that they gave us the permission, the document signed that they are not, they agree with our project. So they give us right to build their project. But it's a very interesting, but very important note. I missed that Rууд mentioned it or not, because it's for now for this status of our project, it's a temporary land art object. So it will. The point is, it should disappear in few seasons, maybe next season, cent to cent. But the local people now, while work in progress, they're asking us, oh, we want it to be permanent. But our point is, guys, you are local. If you want this object to make as a mark of the beach and to save it, to maintain it, so it's your turn now, because we just came. We made this kick off, the one more kick off about developing this area as a recreation zone, and now it's your responsibility to take in charge the care about this piece of land. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Albina. You're great. It's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you, Olga, for this presentation. We are very happy that you are part of our project and also of the phase 3, the continuation of this project. That's not only it's not only about the art in the project, but it's also about the ecology of this piece of land. And we are very happy that you can contribute to this project. So yeah, thank you for your presentation. Next up, there will be Marit Jansen about tidal parks. For many years, the waterfronts of Rotterdam were seen and designed as industrial landscape with hard borders between water and land. But nowadays, we try to change that and give space to the river and nature. So to show this change, we invited Marit Jansen of the Design Office Urbanisten from Rotterdam, who will tell you more about the development of waterfronts into tidal parks. Marit couldn't be here for herself, but we recorded her presentation. 1 second, and I will share my screen. Please listen to Marit Jansen.
Okay. Hello, everyone. There's something else appeared. Sorry. Thank you, Rууд and Lieven, for this invitation to this lecture series. I am currently, as you are watching it, somewhere in a cabin, celebrating a short holiday. So I recorded this lecture in advance. For me, it's Wednesday. For you, it's Tuesday. I am very sorry, though, to miss this program, because it all sounds really interesting and inspiring. And if you have any questions after this talk, please feel free to ask my colleague who will be attending, or ask Rууд and Lieven. So to introduce me shortly, I already shared the screen. So I'm really small. My name is Marit Jansen. I'm a landscape architect at the Urbanisten, and are invited here to tell you about tidal parks in Rotterdam. And what is visual, as you see on the screen now, is it shows the overarching vision as the concept of the river as a tidal park, which the Urbanisten completed in 2015. Which was all about reconnecting city and nature all along the river of the city of Rotterdam. And this invitation of nature in the city is something that we at the Urbanisten and myself personally feel very strongly about. So the Urbanisten is a Rotterdam-based design office that combines urban design and landscape architecture. And we are a group of designers that feel naturally involved in shaping the city of tomorrow. And the city is really our work field. But we are also curious by nature and feel strongly about contributing to an attractive living environment for us people, but also for the other living world. So plants and animals are our unspoken clients as well. So as designers, we think about making the conditions for people and animals to thrive and feel welcome. And therefore, I am really happy to be contributing to this reconnection of city and nature in this small but very welcome tidal park in the Keilehaven, and currently still in use as a working harbor. But with the design and the making of a tidal park, we will also be adding to our own office environment, because it's just next to our office. So this old white building you see here used to be a warehouse, but it's now filled with architects and craftsmen and even a brewery. But enough about us, sorry. Let's talk about tidal parks. And well, actually, the observatorium, Rud, he asked me this question: why tidal parks are fun, as a topic for this lecture. And I will start with answering that one right away, because I really believe that first and foremost, it is this reconnection with nature it gives us. So we city people are a bit lost with the topic. It's not in our daily routine to be part of it. And I think, I do think we all benefit from it, from a bit of nature every day, because it gives us a possibility to be liberating and to be part of this immersive natural experience, even if it's really small. And to get this, you must be aware of our background in this Dutch landscape. And with that, I also mean the Dutch cityscape. And it's probably totally different where you grew up. And so the Netherlands are very compact and mostly agricultural land. And with these photographs, I hope you will get this idea how this layout of the city and landscape really testifies to a great manageability of our country and a great orderliness in its design. So we do have a fairly business-like relationship to the landscape and less an eye for romance. And in a larger scale, we are not aware of any wild landscapes. Well, we do have this. It's the Rotterdameplaat in the Waddenzee. But apart from this, there are no wild landscapes. What we do have this idea of wilderness. And I think that is the interesting thing in the concept of tidal parks, is that it really gives us a way out of structures and orderliness and a way to really engage in nature, or even a little bit of wilderness in the city. To be more part of the landscape and engage in a more tactile way. So this tidal nature gives us dynamics, but peace of mind at the same time. And an important aspect of this is, of course, the tide and the time. So this periodic change of the water level that really ensures that the park is never the same. So the tide changes every 6 hours, and this constant rhythm of the tide can be really disrupted into spring tide or neap tide. And this change in water levels really gives us a completely different picture in a very short period of time. So imagine this photograph that is taken at low tide, when the tide is up about 2 meters higher at this location. It doesn't sound that much, but all of these low-lying vegetation and roots are invisible then. It's just water, and your eye is led more to the background within the reeds and the woodlands. So this low tide, that really gives you the opportunity to be really close to the ground. And well, maybe you have these clean sandy soils, but we in the Netherlands have this muddy, soggy mess of drenched clay soil. But this richness of the soil and also the water really serves as food for many, many birds. And birds are something we people really enjoy. And this soil also gives us a chance to be playful, like to poke around in the mud plains like my son here is doing. So in addition to these daily changes, you also have the changes in the season. So this characteristic vegetation within these tidal parks really gives different images in a very short time. Like this spot is totally overgrown in early spring with spring snowflake, totally white. And then this, as this photograph, just a month or so later with this marsh marigold. And even later in the year, a few months later, this riparian vegetation starts in pink and purples from the purple loosestrife. So it does give you this desire to return every time to see what grows next. And the way you incorporate time into your design is really quite different from a classic park, where vegetation is stable once it's settled. Besides daily and seasonal changes, the changes over a longer term will affect the spatial structure over time in a tidal park. So it is about this succession of mud plains to sedges, to rushes, to reed beds, and years later, this furred willows start to appear. And I think that really makes it spatially interesting and inviting to more animals and also human visitors, like my colleague here in the photograph who climbed up this willow and moss mountain. And one more aspect, and then I'll go into more the designs of 2 tidal parks I did, which is about this sense of scale. So I find it very interesting that even really small interventions in this larger ecosystem can really lead to an increase of biodiversity and also nature experience. So, for example, when willows might fall over after a storm, they make holes in the soils that can be used by frogs and toads as a breeding pool, or plants that prefer a little drier place will find its way, like this fern here on this photograph. So the willow itself is autonomously actually a really small ecosystem, and great for insects too, since they are one of the first trees to flower. So these are all aspects that I find really interesting or fun within this tidal park concepts, really ways to design with. And it is about this reconnection of nature and the idea to engage in nature and the change in time in bigger and smaller scale. So within this big ecosystem, we started with these 2 parks, the Keilehaven and the Wervenpark. Wervenpark is in the city of Dordrecht, which is a bit upstream, so it falls out of this map. And the design of the Keilehaven, which I did, I made the design last year with my team at the Urbanisten. To start with the Keilehaven location, it is a small park, about 3 hectares, in the middle of this still working industrial area. So in the Keilehaven, it is really the intention to add park function to this tidal nature. And it is also necessary given this location and given the context. The Keilehaven is part of a bigger transformation area, the N4H neighborhood. And it will form together with the RDM, which is across the river, the Makers District. To give you a sense of scale, this is as big as the city center of Rotterdam. So it is quite large. And this area will in the future be a working, living environment with a lot of makers industry. So softening the environment and adding space for recreational use is really necessary. So we looked at this existing slope in the Keilehaven, and we made this inventory of all the different plants that grew there. And we saw that even in this very small stretch, a lot of nature accidentally emerged. And we could clearly distinguish the different biotopes with the different tidal influences. So the tidal change in this location is about 1.5 meters on a daily basis. So sometimes even up until this, oh sorry, that you can see until this location, and this blue is the tidal, the daily influence. So you could distinguish the different zone with a grassy vegetation above this daily high water levels to a zone with seedlings or underwood, to this more flowery riparian vegetation and these rocks with all these algae. So this inventory really gave us an important base for the first intervention in the design. And the idea is to allow these different biotopes more space. And for that, we introduced these tidal terraces. So each biotope gets space and the right conditions. So meaning the ground level and therefore the amount of flooding. And in this overview, you see that each height represents this biotope and gets flooded either more or less. So from high until more low. And in this visual, you can see more clearly how this alternating structure with grass, riparian vegetation, and even a small tidal forest really gives a different experience in more spatial sense. But also with the rhythm of the tide, so it grows, the water goes wider and more smaller, and giving it a narrow view or more openness of the water. And when the tide is out, so the muddy plains appear, and the water can be reached from the stairs. And being able to reach the water sounds like a futile element, perhaps, but you do have to consider that there are only a few places where you can get close to the river within the city borders. So being able to get close and engage in these tidal changes is therefore pretty special, I would say. So when introducing these tidal terraces, we made a conscious design with these dynamics and hopefully created the right conditions for nature to emerge. But that's only what we see above water. There is also this underwater design that will boost aquatic life. So therefore, another important intervention is in this existing water basin is to make the water shallower. So the current depth is about 5 meters. Which is hardly interesting for any water-related fauna. And so by bringing the soil level up to about 2 meters, it does come within reach of this enormous range of birds and fish, insects and mussels. And these chunks of wood you see here in the water, chunks of oak wood, they are like a Kickstarter for biodiversity, so allowing smaller fish some hiding places, but also some food. Okay, next is this tidal park for the city of Dordrecht. Also very small scale, about 1.5 hectares. And it has this beautiful, like raw and rough heritage of a shipyard called the Biesbos. And its location is really near the historical center of the city of Dordrecht and part of this new neighborhood of about 600 houses, new houses. And the national park, the Biesbos, is about 1 kilometer upstream, so that's really close. And the main goal of the design is to keep this history, but add natural value, and in such a way that it also adds spatial quality to the neighborhood. So this conservation of cranes and concrete slipways is an important and spatial aspect of the park, and they do give like a fixed structure to the park, so that this tidal nature can develop spontaneously, like in the counter mold. And yeah, to give the right conditions for the development of nature, this very long slope was introduced. So reaching from water all the way to the land within this tidal influence of about 90 centimeters. So this tidal level is really different from the Keilehaven because of this location being more upstream and has less influence of the sea. So in this about 200 meter slope, about 50% is daily flooded, and the accompanying vegetation could develop spontaneously. So yeah, like all nature development in the Netherlands, we first need large machinery to start. And here we needed to excavate the soil. In fact, it is a fairly simple intervention with the result that the river could enter freely again. And all the seeds from the national park, that was just 1 kilometer upstream, could deposit. So even a few months after this excavation, this very flowery tidal vegetation started to arise. And that is because of the soil and the water being very rich of nutrients, and has this enormous growth potential, which is in fact an interesting design tool, because you can handle it a bit rougher than ecosystems that first have to develop for years and years. Yeah, for the city of Dordrecht, this park is also very distinctive from other parks in the city, due to its topography, historical elements, dynamics, its flora and fauna. So it really complements Dordrecht's various parks, which are more stable and have this other historical background. Okay. Yeah, to return to these main questions, why tidal parks are fun, I would also complement this with the fact that they are also very essential. So looking back and examine historical maps, like this one from 1769, I find that very inspiring, but also scary at the same time, because it shows in green all the riparian zones along the river, and projected over it is the current outline of the river from all the way from the North Sea to Rotterdame, which is the largest red dot on the right. So taken by the scale of these green zones, they are the natural banks all along the river, and that must have been used by this enormous amounts of various fish and bird population. So reading about the decline of biodiversity, I learned that of the 2,500 hectares at the end of the 19th century, there is about 500 hectares left of this delta nature, which is a devastating number of minus 80%. But I do not intend to end this lecture in a depression, nor do I think we can turn this history around, but I do think we can thrive for a better and stronger ecosystem within this next urbanization. By giving more space to natural environments in the city, it also helps us, to deal with the city better, climate-wise, water safety, cleaner environment, loads of heat stress reduction, etc. And the river is in fact the city's largest landscape, and that for a long time was not seen as such a way. So actually the city looked outside for recreation and invented that large peat landscapes would function as a recreational grounds. But for that you really need to cross many infrastructural barriers before entering any attractive space. So I am very glad that the change of perspective turned the eye back to the landscape that gave their existence in the first place, the river. And finally, we city people, we get a real landscape within walking distance from our neighborhood, in which we can have an immersive nature experience. So the city has a great challenge actually to build more than 50,000 homes the next 20 years. And the places to achieve this are mainly around the river, like outdated port areas, as I showed you with the M4H area. And well, my hope would be that if we place the river and the restoration of its ecosystem more centrally in city making, we do bless ourselves with all kinds of ecosystem services. And with this added value, we should also regard the sturgeon as the big one in the food chain, and regard this one as our client, and invite its biotope back into the city. Yeah, that was my story. That was it. Sorry, the screen is gone. I'm still really little. That was it. Thank you for listening. I wish you all many inspiring lectures today. I would love to hear the outcome of the day. And if you need any more information or have questions about what I've showed you today, please feel free to contact us. Bye.
So, yes, wait a second. We're back. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so, but I thought she was maybe attending, but did I see that right? Marit? Not. No, yeah, thanks that she recorded this lecture, inspiring lecture for us. I think it was nice to see next to all the other projects, and to see also this, how we deal with nature in the city, and to develop this also, yeah, for city life. So thank you for that. If you have any questions, we can do that later. So yeah, to the next one. Rotterdam and St. Petersburg are already for a long time sister cities, or twin cities also called, and there's a strong cultural exchange between the two cities. And we invited Melani Post van Oppen, is a liaison officer, and she connects several initiatives. And she will explain you more about how this exchange works between the two cities and what kind of impact it has. Hello, Melanie. Please unmute. Yes.
I will unmute. Hello there.
Hello. Nice
Hi.
to be here.
Good to see you, Lieven. Good to see everybody here. I've been enjoying every minute of it for now, because this is well, the best result we can hope for in the collaborations I'm trying to stimulate. The actual so-called council, Rotterdam St. Petersburg, was established in 2013. But as Lieven already said, the cities have been twin cities since 1984. But the cooperation was mainly focused on maritime economics. And in 2012, the mayor and the governor said, it is such a shame we don't do more with each other. And let's see how we can organize that. So that's when the council was installed. And I was asked by the mayor, Abu Talib, to become the board member for culture. And very soon after that, I met the people at the consulate in St. Petersburg, in particular Victoria Lurik, who is also attending. I saw her name in the group. Hi, Victoria. And from then on, we have been exploring each other's cities, actually. For Victoria, every door opens in the city of St. Petersburg, and I could meet anyone I wanted to. And at the same time, I have a network in Rotterdam, in the cultural area, and so we can bring together parties who have specific wishes, or who have been trying to work with a partner in Russia or in Rotterdam, but maybe sometimes there are problems because of administration, bureaucracy, etc., etc. But over the years, we have been able to build up a lot of collaborations, and we are focusing now particularly on dance and theatre. But at the same time, there are also extra projects coming about, and this was one of them. I was first introduced to Альбина Мотор in, I think, Альбina, it must have been 2013 or 14, when you were still working at the Street Art Museum.
It was 2016.
Oh, 16. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. And well, we sort of hit it off straight away. And soon after, Альбина moved to the area where Seth Cable is, and where she was allowed to develop that area. And it was very good to see, for me, how much culture is going on in more rough areas, and specifically developed for the younger generations, as the city of Rotterdam is a very old city, but it has a very young population, and it's focusing on more contemporary art and more art forms for, let's say, younger people, although of course older people are allowed to enjoy it as well. What struck me in St. Petersburg was the hunger for new places. There was, of course, this vibe going around when New Holland was redeveloped, but also the opening of the Street Art Museum was a huge event. Seth Cable, I mean, it may be out of the city center, but people want to go to special places. So seeing the development in Lomonosov now, I have no worry at all that it will bring a lot of people there. Well, maybe a little bit more specific, although it's not about this topic, but then you have an idea. We are also working on special collaborations between the academies of dance, focusing on building an academy for contemporary dance. And we do that with our Code Arts Academy in Rotterdam and with the Boris Eefman Academy in Petersburg. We're also focusing on inclusive theatre, working with actors with and without a handicap. And we work with 2 theatre groups from both cities. We also work with Eldorado 3000, maybe nice to mention because they also focus on an eco topic. And they were about to go to Moscow when the borders closed because of Corona last year, but they have this cleanup community art project where the community helps clearing out the waters, and with all the mess and everything that's found in the water, they build a new work of art, but always in the shape of something that lives under the water level, to show people this is what happens under the water. So it was very nice also to see, of course, the presentation of the tidal parks and the focus on nature in it. Eldorado is, I think, will come to St. Petersburg after they've been to Moscow to work together, and they have already been acquainted to Альбина, so that will be, it's going to be all right. The core actually of the work that I do is bringing people together where I think there could be a match. It's not like we are a fund. It's not like we have money or anything. There is a little bit of money just to start and stimulate the cooperation, but it is always important to realize that the love should come from both sides, as we call it in Dutch. So if it's not a match, I'm not going to force it. It's only to bring people together. And as Rууд already said at the very beginning, indeed, cooperation and these projects are always about people. And that's what I love most about the work that I do, is to see the moment where people meet each other and where people see how very much alike they are and how much we have in common, rather than see the differences. And yes, we do all live with some prejudice over other people, other countries, etc. But the moment people meet, at least in projects that I do, that all falls away, and you notice the click, and then it hits off. And it's wonderful. And as I said, I've enjoyed every minute of it. I'm so, so happy to see, as I said to Albina a couple of days ago when I saw the first pictures, the actual orange sand, and it's actually being built at this very moment. It is such a shame we can't be there in person, but please keep sending us the pictures and the films. And I'm over the moon. I'm over the moon seeing all of this, and also all the other projects who have presented themselves here. It all comes together. It's a very good thing. You did a great job, Albina, and Rууд, of course, and Observatorium in general, Lieven. Congratulations.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you for this nice talk. We are also really happy that you connected us as people to these projects, to each other, because I think to meet each other and to see, to experience the different cultures and to each other, but bring together and make this kind of project also with inhabitants in Lomonosov is was quite a really nice experience for us. And I heard also that there will be also dance performance at the opening in Lomonosov.
Yeah, it will be contemporary dance performance. Melanie, you know the canon dance.
Canon dance,
and,
yes.
And one of choreographer from the canon dance will make contemporary dance performance on the opening of the Duna. She is preparing almost half year, and it's totally their own Anya Klimakova, her initiative. She loves our project. So yeah, I'm very happy that we have a many connection with the very different from the very different sides. And
yes,
thank you, Melanie, again to put us together. Because I remember this every minute of our meeting, and then you said, "Oh, I have an idea. The observatorium, please. You must contact with those guys." And just one note: I'm not working on Cable and never used to work there. I just was. I has an office there. And we did the first huge exhibition, Waterfront exhibition there, and then 2 more exhibitions as partners and friends of Cable. But they started with our event, yeah, yes. Like publicly, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So thank you, Melanie, for your words. The last but not least, the artist group. Observatorium works already quite a long time, quite a time on several projects around waterfronts, and the skill of these areas are quite different, from small city waterfronts to river waterfronts to coastal sea waterfronts. So water is the binding factor and connects these different places. Andre Dekker from Observatorium will tell you more about what water can mean for landscapes and people. Andre, you're up.
Really? Hi, everybody. My name is Andre. I have the honor to show you 3 major projects we have been working on in the last 10 years. just to give you an idea of how we conceive artworks when it is about meaning. We can talk about nature and collaboration and development. But what is meaning if we don't go to church anymore? So our idea was, at a certain point, always, being overwhelmed by urban planning and plans by others, we said we put art first. Because we think art is capable of opening up your eyes for the area, not really considering, let's say, economics. And we will tell you about 3 sites. One is a river in the metropolis, the other one is at the sea, and the third one is happening now in a tidal area at the in the north of Holland, which is on the old Hanse route from Petersburg to Rotterdam, more or less. So what our aim is, very simply, give people time and space to sit down, to connect. How do you do that? We're always running around. This is how it looks now. We're in one of those nests. There goes everything we want, everything we need. And this is where we normally are, on our way to Petersburg and back and forth and back. So I bless actually the time that we can communicate without travel. But look, what we have done so far, that is not really looking good. The biodiversity loss is enormous. What does art have to do with this? Well, everybody knows this. This is a famous picture by Carl David Friedrich, The Monk at the Sea. Even if you don't like painting, even if you're not religious, even if you detest coastal sites, you will know maybe this feeling that you and the universe are one entity, that you are part of it. And I think our artworks have this goal in mind, to connect. So I'm going to tell you about 3 sites. And we'll start off with the Ruhr Valley. It used to have 6 million people, now 4. It's shrinking. And all of the land is subsiding because of coal mining. So rivers don't flow anymore. What is our response to that? We were invited to come over. We were given money for a show, an exhibition, but we were focusing on this, their dream to have a clean river in the metropolis. You can see the meandering river. Well, that's fake. That is an image. That's the dream. How do you connect people with a sight, with a dream, when it's not happening yet? Artist, how do you go about? This is what we saw. And we sort of knew that this was going to be the new riverbed in 20 years. So we came up with the idea to build already a bridge over the non-existing river, the living bridge, a bridge for people and not for transportation only, a bridge for sitting down, for imagining the future, for talking, for sleeping, for eating, and really to give an idea how it would be if an artwork would really connect to that river, and if urban planning would indeed include such places as we created here. So the title of my lecture was Prefiguration. This is a prefiguration. There's a bridge, there's people, It lasted for 7 years and the river is still not there. But people remember and they ask for it. They want to see that bridge, they want to see that river. They are anticipating the future. And it became a very popular site, to our big surprise, because it was meant to be sort of a site for quietness, for looking at a landscape that was soon to be gone. We go back to Rotterdam. You remember now the maybe the map that was shown with all the biodiversity loss in our port area. So here again, amidst the chemical industry, wind parks near the city, what do you do as an artist? Well, you look at the dream first. It's new land. For what? For everything we saw at the beginning, you know, running around, buying stuff, wanting to have things. But at the same time, it will be a location for clean energy. How does an artwork fit in? When we got there first, I think now 8 years ago, it was still in the making. And all we saw was sand. So we wanted to make an artwork of sand. And that's not so easy to imagine because, you know, it's not stable. So again, imagination was there to help us. We looked at the movements of the sand. We looked at how dunes emerge. Top left, you see a clue of what is happening now in Lomonosov by machines. The movement of sand, the jumping of the grains, and the time it takes to form a dune. That was what we wanted to show. This is the model. It shows a model of the stages of dune formation. And we are expecting that the artwork will disappear over time. This artwork. This is in 2017. And we've already collected over 1 meter of sand. The lower plate has already gone. It's a very dynamic and fast process. So why would you go here? Again, the feeling of anticipation. Looking back is nice, being in the moment is good, but anticipation, you know, the eerie feeling of not knowing what is happening next. The artwork here might help you a bit. On the right side, you will see the sand blown over the street. That is happening daily. So we are all the time sort of collecting the sand in the artwork. And when you visit, you know that it is that you're visiting a process. You're in a time architecture. And we always like this. This one very moment, you know, maybe you can compare it to going to a church or visiting a museum. The moment you stand still and you reflect, that is really so key for us. This is the lady monk at the sea, so to speak. And to the left at the bottom, you see the sand coming in. And this is another way of using that place of imagination. It is a magical place because of the sunlight and the sea and the movements. But the artwork creates a sense of wonder. It feels like a temple, more or less. And people go there and make pictures all the time, and they make videos and they photograph themselves. And it is really a sort of magnet, although there's nothing to do. You know, you cannot buy a cup of coffee. You can only sit and watch. Well, that is really important. The third site is World Heritage Site. This is a tidal flat between islands and the mainland of Holland. The arrow points at a sea defense that was not there a long time. And the mainland was scattered with mounds, thousands of them. The Frisians, they were not living on the land. Well, they lived on the land, but at high tides, they went to the mound, to the little mountains created in the soil. But that sea dike, that now ruins, let's say, their sense of place. They don't know where, they are not at the coast anymore. This sea defense is so high. By the way, in the picture, you can clearly see that the land is lower than the water. So it was the villagers that wanted to go over this dike and feel the connection again. The connection with time, the tides, the elements, and their ancestors who created all that place. So artists, what are you going to do here? It's so big. It's intense. We hooked up with the villagers. They were brave. They went, all of them, over the sea defense into that marshland. And we have now been speaking to them already 4 years. With, in this case, just the designers. It is their ambition to be alone with the wilderness, to feel the tide, and to rethink in that remoteness, in this moment of retreat, the way we treat our landscapes, the way we, for instance, grow potatoes in this area. There are thousands of farmers that have huge farms, and those potatoes do not stay in Holland. We are planting them for the entire world. We sort of have lost our contact to our heritage, to our sites. And their ambition is to get a feeling of how it was, and to get a feeling of how things could change. So the artwork is there actually to sit down and to contemplate that. This is the marshland outside of the sea defense. It's between the sea and the mainland. It's a spirally form, and we needed a lot of negotiation for this. I will not go into detail, but I think it was over 3 years of communication with nature protection, World Heritage Site, farmers, etc., etc. Lots of regulations to tackle. For what, actually? For an artwork just only? Yes, for an artwork just only. This tells us how important we can be for communities, I think. Here they are prefiguring the mound. They have a sense of longing and belonging. And we're just so happy that we can help them realizing the dream. I think this is it, guys and girls. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Andre, for this presentation. Next to all the other projects, it's nice to see what art can mean for projects, for landscapes, and for people. I think that's also in Lomonosov, St. Petersburg, important, the process, how you come, but on the end, the artwork, the place where you can stay and look around you on the landscape. That is also it's the combination which makes it strong. And I think in all the projects it comes back. So thank you, Andre, for this this presentation and your. So yeah, we are kind of on the end of this. Yeah, also quite long. I think we are really good in time, and that's really nice. Yeah, thank you for listening. And we can now, if there are any questions, still, you can ask them now, but you can also email us later, of course. We are always nice to meet up or have new connections also. So does anybody has a question or a thought or please share. We like that to share. We shared now a lot, but maybe you can share also something. Albina, maybe you can say something for the last, and then.
Yeah, it was thanks for all participants of our event, of our discussion, not discussions, but like kind of cases presentation. It was very interesting to see, and already in my head a lot of ideas how to make the future connections. So we'll see, and maybe Q&A. Because I just wanna to say thanks for all. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So yeah.
There are some questions. So I saw. I ready, for example, to replay, to answer for the question, what about the future of this project? How we're gonna to develop the waterfront and the Sea of Orange. So I for sure, I'm personally, and our team wanted to continue the waterfront project also after the grant program will end, and for now it's a lot of requests, for example, from the business about the participatory design, about to work with not with the fake participatory design, but real engaging with the local communities to encourage to raise the local communities in Russia, and we are, we are using the art as a tool of communication, and we are not that people we are not architects, we are not place designers. We are trying to establish this dialogue between different actors, and what the main goal, what I am doing, it's my approach and approach of team which I organized, how to say, united, collecting for the projects. It's the main goal and main approach, and to how to say, it's to spread the virus about the citizens, the co-creators of the public spaces, or co-creators with the architects, because we can take a lot of demands, a lot of ideas from the people, from the bottom, but all of them, they need to be designed and implemented by professionals. So our project, it's how to meet non-professionals with professionals, and this dialogue we are trying to establish around art, and using art as a good tool for communication, and to attract attention of the media and other very important members, audience to make to highlight the problems and questions what we have concerning the urban environment and our living, quality of our life, and how we can influence
Yes.
So each project which we are doing, we are trying to give responsibility for that project to the local communities to maintain. That's why we are trying to involve them in the very beginning, in the zero step, not like just to choose which project they like more in the like a contest, but we are designing the objects and projects. We are trying to do it like together with the or provoking. For example, we will implement 6 public art projects in June in St. P, and all of them will provoke discussion, and we will see what will happen. Yeah.
Thanks.
So I don't know, did I reply for question about the future of the project or not?
Yeah, I think so. The project, I think, will be in the future, of course, will maintain and together with all the partners, and especially, of course, the next Saturday on the 22nd of May, we will be opening. We cannot be there, Rud and Lieve from Opstorium, but we'll be opening the Dune of Orange in Lomonosov. So that will be very special, I think. And then yeah, so follow everything on social media and the website. You can the Waterfront.tools for updates, and hopefully we will come later on to Lomonosov to see it by our own. Other questions? So now, thank you very much for listening, everybody. It was quite a roller coaster with all the different stories, but I think it gave a good view of how this project works together with all the exchange. Hope to see you another time back. And yeah, if you still have questions, please email us or send us a message. No, thank you very much. See you, goodbye, and see you later. Bye.
Thank you, bye-bye, thank you. Observatorium, we miss you here in St. P, and we love you. We love you, bye-bye.